say good morning, did I? We are here to remember the crucifixion of Jesus Christ on this Good Friday. And so we invite you to be present here in this moment. We're going to be having a wonderful service with some drama and some music. And so just invite you to open up your heart and just allow the Spirit to work in you. May this be an experience for you to draw closer to Christ. We're going to spend our first few moments preparing our hearts for worship, and we'll spend a few moments now in silence after the ringing of the singing bell. If you would stand, we'll join together in our opening prayer. It'll be up on the screen. There's a section where all will say the prayer together, then just the women, then the men, then all. We gather as those who sense abundant grace in the abundance of our lives, but who remain plagued by the reality of want and injustice in our world. We gather today to bear witness to suffering and death upon a cross. We are appalled at the injustice and cruelty of such inhumanity, not only in Jesus' story, but of days in our lives when we are confronted with greed, corruption, discrimination, hatred, violence, and loss of life.
We mourn for war-torn countries who have been bombed, for refugees of all countries who are fleeing oppression, and for poverty and sickness that are far too pervasive in our world.
May we commit ourselves to seeking peace, justice, mercy, forgiveness, kindness, and love. May we respond to our world more wisely and compassionately. May this day of darkness not hinder our resolve to follow in Jesus' ways and to make our world a better place. In the midst of horrific suffering and the violence of crucifixion, let us hold on to the hope in resurrection. This is our prayer. Amen. You may be seated, and we'll join together in our first song, God Dwells in Us.
God dwells in us whene'er we love. With God we are as one. For when we love, we dwell in God. Renewal has begun. When loving others I receive fulfillment and release. Tension and hostility, I taste a sacred peace.
These readings are a glimpse
into what's called the Passion, the story of Jesus' betrayal and death. Come and walk with the people that were with him during this time.
I am Judas from the village of Keroth. I love the land God had given to my people. I believe Jesus of Nazareth was God's answer to Israel's prayer for release from Roman tyranny. Surely he was the Messiah foretold by our prophets. I just knew he'd be an invincible leader against the oppression of Rome. An invincible leader, but I became impatient for him to demonstrate his leadership by marshaling Israel's warriors in battle. He seemed more interested in being present to needy peasants and blind beggars. It was maddening for me to listen to him talk about loving one's enemies, when what I wanted was for him to knock heads. Why did he waste time with lepers and children?
I am a Roman soldier. Our cohort was pretty typical, a fierce and cruel band of men. Actually, most of the stinking peasants we have to keep corralled think of us as murderers, but we don't care. That's what we do, and we're good at it. We get paid for following orders, whatever they may be. That night, though, was special. We were out to nab that Jewish rabble-rouser, Jesus. We got a tip as to where he was, and we came armed to the teeth. We came to capture a dangerous troublemaker.
I was there that night. My name is Peter, and we, the disciples, were in the garden with Jesus while he was praying. It's hard to express the level of fear and hatred that came over me when I saw those soldiers. I love Jesus so much that I had to do something. I had to show my loyalty and my devotion, so I raised my sword. I meant to do so much more, but all I managed to do was cut off the ear of one of the soldiers. I was desperate to protect Jesus, but resorted to exactly the kind of thing Jesus warned us against. Jesus doesn't condone violence. And there, facing what was sure to be unimaginable cruelty, Jesus reached out and healed the soldier, one of his enemies.
I began to wonder if Jesus needed an opportunity to demonstrate his divine power. Perhaps I could arrange an opportunity that would force his hand. I conceived a plan that would give Jesus a chance to demonstrate his superiority over Caesar. I offered to lead a squad of soldiers to the Garden of Gethsemane. Jesus would have no choice. He would summon legions of angels to disable Caesar's soldiers. But everything fell apart before my eyes. It was inconceivable that Jesus would allow himself to be taken prisoner, but he did. I was sickened by the realization that I had betrayed God's Son to his enemies. I was desperate. I couldn't undo what I had started. I had betrayed my Lord. I had returned his love with betrayal. I didn't deserve to live. What else could I do?
This Jesus surrendered with a courage like I've never seen. There was something about him I couldn't understand. He carried no weapon, But when he came toward us, we became terrified. A troop of armed Roman soldiers, paralyzed with fear. I was so embarrassed, but what else could I do?
After Jesus was arrested that night, he was given 6 trials, all without witnesses and all at night. They were brutal and cruel to him. Long before he even went to the cross, Jesus was humiliated and beaten. He was alone. His disciples were nowhere to be found.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what was happening. I promised Jesus I wouldn't deny him, but that night, I denied him 3 times. I bitterly wept because of it, and I was deeply sorry. But all of us, we were so scared. We fled and didn't know what to do. We were in constant fear.
I am Caiaphas, chief priest of the Jews, a man of prestige and political influence. I know the rules, and until recently, I kept the rules. After all, God made the rules. But then this Jesus of Nazareth came into our community and started to break our rules. I was afraid he would start a revolt. It made me angry and jealous. I needed to get rid of him. He claimed to heal people. He helped people. He said he was the Son of Man, and his popularity kept growing. Despite our efforts to discredit him, he never defended himself or tried to get revenge. Instead, he demanded honesty in his relationships with us. And honesty is not what I was interested in. But that voice pierced my heart. Perhaps I knew deep down that he was a man of God, but I didn't want to admit it. What else could I have done?
I am Pontius Pilate. Personally, I had nothing against him, although he was known as a troublemaker among his own people. Certainly, as a Roman ruler, I didn't care whether he lived or died. Though I was curious to hear him, though. He seemed to have a depth and a power about him. And I must admit, I came to think of him as a man of truth. Why was he to die? I felt reluctant to let him go, but I'm not sure why. There was something so unusual about him. But I had my job to consider. My wife was acting strangely. She didn't become upset too often, but when it came to this Jesus character, she pleaded with me. Now mind you, I was bothered about Jesus too, or what was left of him. By the time he got to me, he was beaten so severely, you could barely recognize him. I was conflicted, knowing that if I didn't have him crucified, I could lose my job. Losing face and being embarrassed in front of people was not an option. But what really bothered me was that this Jesus actually seemed to care about me. I didn't want to admit it, but I didn't want his death to be my responsibility. So in front of the screaming and shouting mob, I washed my hands of the situation. Was done with it. What else could I do?
I'm Simon from Cyrene. You probably don't know who I am. I don't know what the situation was. I was just a bystander in the crowd when I was pressed into service to carry this cross for this Jesus of Golgotha. Who was he anyways? Being so near to him, for a man being so near to death, he was so strangely peaceful. Hey, I don't have anything against him. And maybe carrying that crossbeam, I relieved them of some of his suffering. Look, I did what I could do. What else could I have done?
I loved my son from the moment he was born. Let's just say he wasn't an easy child to raise, but I loved him. We had our differences, certainly, but from the very beginning of his organizing people, this was my greatest fear. Why did he have to be so different? He could have been like his brothers, lived in Galilee, had a family, but he wanted everyone to be treated fairly. Doesn't make sense to say that I think he just cared too much. He loved too much. I must admit, I am proud of him. And I wanted him to know I was proud of him, that I loved him. That's why I was there, to be with him one last time. It was harder than I could have ever imagined. I felt every wound he received. I would have done anything to have taken his place.
I'm Mary Magdalene. I was proud to be one of Jesus' disciples. It's a rare thing for a man in our world to treat a woman with such equality and respect. I came to know Jesus when he healed my illness, but I discovered later he had healed so much more. He had healed the deepest part of who I was. It was a strange day for me when I realized how much I had come to love him. I did what I could with my financial and moral support, but it was not enough. I now know that every moment with him was a gift. Clearly, this man spoke the truth. He made me realize that I had lived my life in fear instead of love. And where there's love, there's no room for fear. Maybe that's why I had the courage to be at his feet when they executed him.
My name is Joseph of Arimathea. Look, I'm not trying to brag, but I'm a pretty big deal. Even without my membership in the Sendrian, I'm an important, prominent man. I'm not a terribly brave person, though. I had to gather up every ounce of courage after Jesus was executed to ask for his body. Sometimes the bodies are just left to be eaten by the birds and the dogs. It's terrible. I have a large family tomb and thought Jesus should be buried with some dignity. I was so frightened. If someone had found out, I'd lose my reputation and position. I'm a wealthy man, and this was a big risk. But somehow, I knew that such a holy man should not be thrown into a pit. He changed my life. He taught me the truth. Opening my family tomb was an expression of gratitude for how much he had changed my life. After all, that's the way love is. It transforms people to do things for love and of truth rather than from fear. What else could I do?
I am a centurion, part of the Roman squad assigned to Golgotha that day, and I saw Jesus die. I was just doing my job. I saw so many people die, more crucifixions than I can count. But you get used to it. Besides, it's what we do. But this Jesus, this ragged bag of bones, he changed me. There was something about the way he died. Call it an inner peace or something. In spite of the pain, there was something about him. He even had the audacity to forgive the detachment carrying out his execution. Who does that? I do think he was special somehow. I wish I had known more about him. I still feel bad about participating in his death. What else could I have done?
If I receive the love of God, accept myself in grace, in love I then begin to see God's image in my face. Love is itself the sacred place where God and I can meet. Love is the scene, love is the time when life is so complete.
What can I say? How could I ever make this up to him? He must know that I loved him with all my heart. What more could I have done? Am I willing to risk my life for his truth? Can I still call him my Lord? Will I be able to face the others after being such a coward? What he taught us was hard enough to live out when he was right here with us. Now I have to figure out a way to live it by my wits. I owe him that much. What else can I do?
I know I've been given a gift of love so great that I would gladly give my life for the sake of my child. Maybe there are things that I could have done differently, but I couldn't have loved him more.
I'll always wonder if there was more that I could have done. But then, none of the 12 even showed their faces when he was killed. It's sad how the same fools who busied themselves arguing about who would be first in the kingdom were absent that day, cowering somewhere safe during Jesus' last hours. I hope he knew when he looked down at me how much I loved him, and that I will never leave him, and I will never betray his truth. Maybe that's what love is.
How deep the Father's love for us, how vast beyond all measure, that he should give his only Son to make a wretch his treasure. How great the pain of searing loss! The Father turned his face away, as wounds which mar the chosen one bring many sons to glory. Behold the man upon a cross, my sin upon his shoulder. Ashamed, I hear my mocking voice call out among the scoffers. It was my sin that held him there until it was accomplished. His dying breath has brought me life. I know that it is finished. I will not boast in anything, no gifts, no power, no wisdom, but I will boast in Jesus Christ, his death and resurrection. Why should I gain from his reward? I cannot give an answer, but this I know with all my heart.
The characters in our story are vastly different from one another. Clearly, when they ask, "What else could I have done?" they don't all mean the same thing. Roman soldier, full of regret. Perhaps Pilate seemed a little defensive. Simon of Cyrene was thoughtful, trying to literally think of something else he could have done. Angry? Heartbroken? Where are they coming from when they ask, "What else could I have done?"
We dwell in God, and God dwells in us. With God we are as one, when we love as Christ has loved. We dwell in God, and God dwells in us. With God we are as one, when we love as Christ has loved.
Roll the stone over that tomb.
We invite you to take a stone symbolizing the stone rolled across Christ's tomb and hold on to it through Saturday to remember Christ in the tomb and his willingness to suffer